Hi guys, thank you so much for staying tuned to today's video. I want to appreciate you for all my subscribers who have constantly followed us on all our episodes. And for those of you that are just joining us today, I want to welcome you to this channel where we share lots of insightful tips that will help you to continue to move your business forward and also move forward as a person. So today's video is going to be really exciting. And I want you to stay tuned to what I'm about to share with you because it's going to help you to change your paradigm on how you see life and how you address the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. If you're liking the sound of this and you're yet to subscribe to our channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can get lots of exciting content from us. So today's video, I'm going to be sharing the lessons that I learned from the life of a man who has written a very interesting book and is also one of Nigeria's most influential investors as well. His name is no other person but Femi Otedola. He's recently written a book called Making It Big that has become a seller in lots of stores around Nigeria and even abroad as well. So I'm going to be sharing some lessons that I learned from one of his journeys, which is the journey of his business, the ZENON petroleum and gas business that he ran. Because I find this very interesting and something that I believe that a lot of us can actually learn things from that would help us in handling some of the challenges that we ourselves face on a day-to-day business. This man actually started this business in 1999. But before then, he had actually been doing some other businesses. One of the business that he was running was more or less like a microfinance, where he was doling out loans to people who were coming to actually borrow money. And after that, he decided to move into the oil and gas. And this was something that he picked up from something that happened in one of his experiences. So during the power shortage issues in Nigeria, he had actually gotten someone to come and supply diesel in his house. And what had happened was that the people who came to supply the diesel, he didn't really like the service, that they even almost messed up his house that he had built. And he said to himself that he felt that he could actually do this very well. And from there, he started reaching out to some of his friends and he started making research about how to go into this business. And when he eventually went into this business in 1999, he started with about 15 million naira. And he also got a loan from his father of about $250,000 at 1% interest rate to be paid over, I think, a period of like 5 years. But what had happened was that when he started this business, within the space of like a year, he had made about $1 million. This was the business that actually brought him into becoming a billionaire. But he recounted that in running this business, there were a lot of sacrifices that he had to even put into it. Like going with the driver to deliver diesel from door to door, like going to the depot and staying there till like into the midnight just to ensure that his trucks get loaded. And this is something that we need to also realize, that a lot of things that needs to work, you need to put work into it. Nothing works without being worked at. So there's a lot of work that needs to be put into anything that you want to succeed. And there is also nothing like, being a big person that when you're starting a business, that you can't roll your sleeves to do the things that are required for that business to actually survive. So if you're listening to me and you're actually doing stuff and you think that you're too big for you to do some things, I want you to know that you're actually not. At the initial stage of your business, you need to give it all the efforts that it requires. And so when he started this business, they got to a time where in the Nigerian economy, I think there happened to be like some policy where they had to deregulate. And so what that meant was that a lot more companies had the opportunity to be able to import diesel into the country. And so his company, ZENON Oil, was one of the companies that was able to actually position themselves such that they became a major importer of diesel that a lot of other people were even coming to buy from them. And at the time, they were controlling about 93% of the market. And that was massive. He even recounted that there was a period that he was making at least $6 million in a month from the business. That was huge. And so with that amount of money coming into the business, he was able to do a lot of stuff like buying properties, buying a logistics company, buying a shipping line, and was able to expand because of the amount of money that he was making from this business. This is really huge. And this is something that we need to also realize. When you begin to make lots of money from your business, there is always the need, or there is the need for you to understand that you need to diversify. Because if you're not diversifying, one of the things that will happen is that over time, you're just going to see that that one stream of income might dry out and you might not be able to fall back to anything. And also for him, it was also the opportunity for him to be able to control every aspect of the value chain of the business. So he was able to control the logistics fully. He was able to control his shipping fully as well. And that was the essence for his diversification. It also led him to buying shares in major banks like Zenith Bank, UBA Bank, Access Bank, GT Bank, and was able to use those funds, to actually grow his stakes in these places. So that is one of the things that he was able to do with the funds that were coming in. And as time went on, there was even a time that it was even mentioned that if any of his competitor maybe died, for example, he could go to the child or the children of the competitor and ask to buy out, the business and offer them, lots of money because there was money coming in for him through this business. So in 2008, when we had the global economic downturn, where the price of oil was about $1.7 to a barrel, he decided to invest about $500 million to bring in stock. And over the course of the week, the price actually went down to about $37. And what that meant was that he already had a large amount of stock coming in. Then the second thing that also happened was that there was devaluation of the naira in Nigeria. So initially, he had gone to borrow money at about 117 naira to a dollar. But over the course of the devaluation, the money had gone to about 165 naira to a dollar, and he had borrowed money at 117. And what that meant was that there was debt that was coming up already. Then the final thing that also happened was that there was a time, his stock in the banks that he had bought also went down. His stock that he had in Zenith that was selling for around 12, that he bought around 12 naira, that was even selling at 16 naira, that he even refused to sell, actually went down as well. And all these things led to what we call the big debt that he incurred. Over the course of the time, he had incurred a debt of about 220 billion naira, which was massive. And the consequence of this was that the banks that he had borrowed money from started coming at him. And so what that meant was that they started sending people to him who were threatening, who were coming around to actually disturb and do things. The other thing that happened was that it was at the break of losing the company. And so this got him into thinking and looking at what he needed to do. So what he did was to go and have an agreement with AMCON, the Asset Management Company of Nigeria, that he wanted to sell off all the property so that he was able to pay off the debt. And that was what he had to do eventually. Now, the lessons that I learned from this story is that firstly, one of the things you must realize is that as your business begins to scale, you must structure formally. So as his business was scaling at that level, one of the things that he didn't do was that he didn't structure the business formally. He was still operating the business like a one-man business. So he didn't hire people like having like a CEO, hire people like CFO, hire like a chief human resource officer, hire like a legal team that could help look into the detailed structure of the business and putting things into place properly. So that actually affected the business from being able to formalize the way it needed to formalize and do things properly the way it needed to be done. One of the other lessons that I learned was that he didn't also seek out expert advice. So as the business begins to grow, one of the things you must realize is that you must not fail to bring in experts to help you to look through and audit the business from time to time, to be able to profile solutions on the next stage, on the things that you can do to pivot at different times. And this is something that he had to learn after that business went down. One of his recent businesses that he currently does is the Gerugu power plant. And one of the things he had done was to bring in experts who helped him to look through the business to be able to advise him before he was able to invest into that business. And this is something that we must not fail to do. If there are things that you need to get expert advice to do, you might be able to save yourself lots of money in the future that you don't know about. Then the third lesson that I learned is to buy properties. This was something that eventually saved him at the end of the day. As you begin to make money, you must realize that investing in properties is something that you must continue to do. Large-scale corporations don't fail to do this. You will see that they continue to put monies into big properties that they can eventually liquidate when they need the cash to do so. And this was something that he was doing. He was buying properties in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt. And this was the thing that he was able to sell when he eventually got into debt. The fourth lesson that I learned also is to also trust your instinct. There was a time he mentioned that when his shares in Zenith Bank was risen from 12 naira to about 60 naira, and he was supposed to have sold it at that time. He said that if he had trusted his instinct to sell at 60 naira, he would have grossed in about 191 billion naira at that time from that transaction. And so you must realize that certain times, your instinct might be telling you to do certain things at different times that might not appear like conventionally real or realistic. But you must know that there are times that, depending on how you have used your instinct in the past and how it has worked for you, you must realize that certain times you must be able to trust your instinct to do certain things that would eventually also work for you. The last lesson that I want you to learn is that if you have lost anything, remember that you can always bounce back. This was the story of a man that was in debt of about 220 billion naira. And he was able to reinvent himself, redefine himself, and bounce back. So you must realize that whatever you are going through, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Someone once said something that when you experience darkness the most, that is where the greatest light is about to come out. So don't allow that situation make you do things that you will then regret. But always see every negative thing that comes your way as an opportunity for you to reinvent, as an opportunity for you to be better, as an opportunity for you to grow. So if you're going to certain things like this and you feel like it's making you doubt yourself, no, don't doubt yourself. You can always learn a lesson from what has happened here. This is someone that has bounced back and is even currently the chairman of First Bank of Nigeria. He currently owns a power plant. Things have gotten better and is in a much better place. So you must realize that you yourself can actually be in that same situation. You can be in a better place if you are going through that tough situation, and things can get better. I believe that today's story will actually spark and ignite something on the inside of you. And if you're liking the sound of this and you're yet to subscribe, kindly go ahead to subscribe to our channel. You can reach out to us for a one-on-one training section or a group training session. Thank you so much for staying tuned to today's video. See you next time.